all women are different, but they are all women. This video is androcentric from a men's point of view and is presented as opinion, commentary, and debate. Expressing opinions is not violence. These are ideas to challenge, question, and argue in public because classical liberalism relies on the First Amendment for its dialectic. If you are a feminist, then consider this. If patriarchy truly existed as claimed, feminism could not. And if all men are trash and women are equal to men, then what are we to conclude? Women will die for their children, men will die for their wives and children, and God chose to die for all mankind. Authority rolls up with responsibility. If this framing of facts offends you, click off to a cute cat video. Proceeding further will expose you to gamma bias and criticism directed at ideas, claims, institutions, not at any individual's virtue or dignity. Our method follows the 7 liberal arts, the trivium, grammar, logic, rhetoric, and the quadrivium, arithmetic, geometry, music, and astronomy, and the transcendentals, the good, true, and beautiful. If this framework is not for you, feel free to exit now. It's no disgrace. Women are wonderful. God bless America. Men are great. Feminismus delendus 8. Prayer and Power. Rebuilding Masculine Leadership in a Feminized World. Written by Conrad Riker. Available now, links in description. Buy on Amazon or Google or Spotify. She calls it communication until you define it. How the joke exposes double standards, subjective truth, and the logo's correction. You have heard a woman demand vulnerability and then punish the man who provided it. You laughed, not because it was kind, but because the pattern was so perfectly, surgically exact that laughter was the only honest response left. That is what a great woman joke does. It cracks the seal on a contradiction everyone sees and nobody is allowed to name. The target is never woman as such. The target is the double standard, the moving definition, the tone tribunal, the demand that he translate fog into policy while she reserves the right to change the weather. The joke simply makes the hidden mechanism visible, holds it up, turns it in the light, and lets the audience see the gears grind against each other. So, when she says she wants vulnerability and then says not like that, the joke is already writing itself. It does not need exaggeration. It only needs the receipt, because a good woman joke is a small court of logos where the double standard is forced to testify. The joke woman: I want a man who is emotionally vulnerable and tells me how he feels. Man: define vulnerable. Do you mean honest disclosure or only feelings that preserve attraction? Woman: not like that. I want you open, not needy. Greater the receipt became offensive because it itemized the double standard. Why it works: the mechanism is simple and brutal. A universal demand meets a definition, and the definition makes the demand confess its own limits. She asks for vulnerability, he asks what kind, she corrects him. The correction is the punchline, because it retroactively converts the original request from a principle into a preference. The hidden conversion happens in real time. I want you open becomes I want you open on the exact axis that keeps me comfortable, which is not vulnerability at all. It is a performance of vulnerability with the danger surgically removed and the invoice sent to him. The receipt metaphor works because a receipt does not create the transaction, it merely displays what was already purchased. The moment the line items become visible: openness requested, openness delivered, openness rejected, reason, insufficient attraction preservation. The double standard is not accused, it is audited. She isn't being called a hypocrite. The document speaks for itself. That is why it is funnier than an insult. The contradiction indicts itself in its own handwriting, and he never raises his voice. Two alternates land on the same nerve from different angles. Her principle was universal, right up to the point it touched her lifestyle, is the philosophical translation. It names the exact GPS coordinate where ideals collide with incentives and incentives win by unanimous vote. The courtroom of feelings found him guilty of making the weather measurable is the epistemological version. The sin was not the evidence, it was the barometer. You are allowed to have weather. You are not allowed to make someone check whether it matches the forecast. That is the real offense. He did not fail the test by answering wrong. He failed by answering before she finished changing the question. The deeper lesson for the male reader is forensic, not comedic. The definition question is the scalpel. What do you mean by vulnerable? Forces the claim out of the fog and onto the table, where its shape can be measured against itself. Most demands that sound noble in the abstract collapse the instant you ask for the operating definition, because the definition reveals the boundary the speaker was hoping to hide behind the vocabulary. A claim that cannot survive a definition was never a claim. It was weather, the hidden assumption map. Grammar, the sentence performs a grammatical displacement. The subject is the receipt, a list of facts, an account of a pattern. The verb attributes action to it. It became offensive. The cause of this offensiveness is that it itemized the double standard. Notice what the grammar hides. The double standard itself is never the subject of a transitive verb. It is not the double standard that offends, it is the itemization of it. This structure allows the speaker to blame the diagnosis for the disease. The unspoken assumption is that the proper behavior for the witness to an asymmetry is silent submission. The grammar betrays the intended reality. The problem is not the rift in justice, but the seamstress who reveals it. Logic, the logical structure, relies on a smuggled equivalence. The explicit argument, the receipt caused offense is a valid complaint. The receipt is blameworthy. The hidden premise is that discomfort is a sufficient refutation of fact. This is a category error, confusing what is true with what feels good. It violates the law of non-contradiction by demanding that the man honor the relationship and suppress the truth that relationships require to be just. The false assumption is that the revelation of a double standard constitutes a breach of contract. Logos corrects this by separating the account from the offense. The truth of the receipt is independent of the mood of the reader. An accurate statement of asymmetry is not a failure of care. It is the precondition for repair. Rhetoric. The rhetoric functions as a preemptive strike against accountability. By labeling the receipt as offensive, the speaker creates a magical space around the double standard where it cannot be named. It weaponizes the language of safety to protect asymmetry. The rhetorical goal is to make the man choose, silence your observation, or be the aggressor. This is the classic tone tribunal move. When the facts are against you, attack the delivery. The logos counter-rhetoric is disarming but firm. The double standard was the original offense. The receipt is merely the autopsy report. If the report offends you, it is only because the body was never meant to be examined. Do not mistake the coroner for the killer. Male takeaway, a man must recognize this as a test of frame. The woman attacking the receipt is not asking for empathy. She is asking for the resuppression of truth. The masculine duty is to hold the truth in the fire. The takeaway is a boundary. The accuracy of the receipt is non-negotiable. The offense taken is not an argument against the receipt. It is evidence the system has grown dependent on plausible deniability. Do not apologize for the ledger. Do not soften the invoice. The man who bears the social heat of an accurate account is the man who can be trusted to rebuild. This is the white pill of masculine logos. The truth may cost you the argument, but it preserves your soul. Refuse the fog. Nail the door shut on the double standard by refusing to concede the truth of its exposure. Civilization is restored one honest receipt at a time. The logos debunk. The joke is pattern recognition. The pattern is older than marriage counseling, older than therapy speak, older than the word vulnerability being stripped of its meaning and reinstalled as a remote control button. A woman announces she wants emotional honesty from a man. The man, taking her at her word, offers honest disclosure of a feeling she did not budget for. Fear, inadequacy, grief, exhaustion, the inner weight he carries to keep the household standing. Her face changes. The temperature drops. Within 48 hours, the phrase "not like that" arrives, followed by its cousins. Needy. I thought you were stronger. You're different than I thought. The vulnerability she requested had a dress code. It was supposed to be cinematic tears over a dead dog, quiet admission of missing his father, the kind of softness that makes her feel chosen rather than burdened. Instead, he handed her the ledger, and the ledger proved she was running a double-entry system. Male strength as moral obligation, male weakness as moral failure. This is funny because it is true, and because the truth was hiding inside a platitude wearing the costume of intimacy. The humor is forensic. It does not mock women as a class. It mocks the script. A script that demands a man be transparent, and then punishes the transparency that does not serve attraction. The joke is a small courtroom where the double standard is compelled to testify against itself, the false rule hidden inside it. The hidden rule operates like a casino where the house changes the payout after the bet. Vulnerability is defined as honest emotional disclosure. That is the stated rule. The actual rule is honest emotional disclosure that preserves her attraction and his utility. Disclosure that interrupts the fantasy of male invulnerability is reclassified as neediness after the fact. The word is not used to describe behavior. It is used to disqualify behavior that was requested under the previous definition. This produces a test no man can pass, because the passing condition is withheld until after the answer. It is like being told to speak honestly, then being informed that the honest answer was the wrong honest answer, and that the right honest answer was one he should have known without asking. The man is not being asked to be vulnerable. He is being asked to perform a specific kind of curated softness that does not disturb the furniture. The false assumption is that attraction and honesty can be demanded simultaneously under asymmetric rules, with the woman as sole arbiter of which disclosures count as real and which count as failure. This is not intimacy. It is auditions, the grammar, what is actually being claimed. Strip the sentence, "I want you open, not needy," to its load-bearing structure. The subject is I, the verb is want, the object is you open. The modifier is not needy, but needy is undefined. It has no referent, it is a floating signifier that attaches retroactively to whatever disclosure failed the hidden attraction test. The sentence sounds like a boundary. It functions as a veto. The word open is doing the same trick from the opposite direction. It sounds like a door. It is actually a turnstile, entry permitted only for approved emotional content. The grammar of the request implies universal welcome. The application of the request reveals selective enforcement. She said open but meant open between these lines, "I will not show you until you cross one." Vulnerable deserves its own autopsy. From Latin vulnerabilis, from vulnus, wound. To be vulnerable is to expose the wound. But in modern female-coded usage, vulnerability has been migrated from the realm of courage to the realm of entertainment. It now means perform your pain in a way that makes me feel closer to you without making me responsible for you. The wound must be visible but not bleeding. The scar must be shown but not touched. This is not vulnerability. It is emotional tourism. The logic, what does the evidence prove? The claim, "I want a man who is emotionally vulnerable." The evidence, when the man discloses vulnerability, the response is withdrawal, loss of attraction, or reclassification of the disclosure as weakness. The conclusion writes itself. The claim is false. Not because the woman is lying consciously, but because the stated preference and the revealed preference diverge. Stated preference is what you say you want. Revealed preference is what you reward. If you say you want vulnerability and punish it when it arrives, your stated preference is decoration. The logic failure is a category error, treating attraction as a moral category. Attraction is amoral. It does not care about justice, fairness, or the moral beauty of male honesty. It responds to signals of strength, competence, stoicism, and command. A woman can genuinely believe she wants vulnerability and genuinely lose attraction when she receives it. Both are real. The problem is that she holds the man accountable for the gap between her belief and her wiring. This produces an unfalsifiable demand. If he does not open up, he is closed, guarded, emotionally unavailable. If he opens up wrongly, he is needy. If he opens up correctly, the definition of correctly shifts based on mood, timing, hormone cycle, and whether she has complained about him to her friends that week. The man cannot win because the winning condition is classified after submission. The syllogism is clean. Premise 1, a just standard must be knowable in advance and applied consistently. Premise 2, the standard for acceptable male vulnerability is not knowable in advance and is applied inconsistently. Conclusion, the standard is not just. This does not make the woman evil. It makes the demand incoherent. And incoherent demands masquerading as moral obligations are the stock in trade of manipulation, whether conscious or cultural. The rhetoric, who benefits from the confusion, follow the incentive structure. Who gains from a rule that demands male vulnerability, but punishes unscripted male vulnerability. The woman gains informational advantage. She learns his weaknesses without having to honor them. She receives intelligence about his fault lines while retaining the right to use that intelligence against him in argument, in retelling, in the group chat, in the divorce. The vulnerability contract is one-sided disclosure under her terms with no corresponding obligation of mercy. The therapeutic culture gains jurisdiction. The word vulnerability has been migrated from the lexicon of combat and sacrifice into the vocabulary of managed emotional performance. Therapists, HR departments, relationship coaches, and social media accounts all profit from the demand that men open up on a schedule using approved vocabulary with measurable outcomes. The industrial complex of emotional literacy does not want men to be whole. It wants men to be billable. The rhetoric of vulnerability functions as an extraction mechanism. The man is told that disclosure is the path to intimacy. He discloses. The disclosure is used to downgrade his status. He is then told he disclosed poorly and should try again, perhaps with professional help. The cycle repeats. Each iteration extracts more information and delivers less safety. The sex swap reveals the architecture immediately. A man says, "I want you to be sexually adventurous and tell me all your fantasies." She shares. He calls her degraded. He says, "Not like that. I wanted openness, not filth." He would be identified instantly as a manipulator running a trap. The grammar is identical. The social response is not. The male error. The man hears the request and takes it at face value because he is trained to. His error is not honesty. Honesty is a virtue. His error is delivering honesty to a frame that has not been tested for structural integrity. He treats a woman's stated preference as a binding contract. He does not audit the revealed preference first. He does not ask the defining question. What happened the last time a man in your life was genuinely vulnerable with you? If the answer involves disgust, withdrawal, or a story about an ex who turned out to be weak, the data is in. The stated preference is aspirational marketing, not operational policy. His second error is apologizing after the trap closes. She says, "Not like that." He internalizes the failure as his. He should have calibrated better, timed it better, worded it better. He searches his technique. He does not search the frame. This is the nice guy program running its final subroutine. If the result was pain, the technique must be wrong. But sometimes the technique was honest and the frame was hostile. His third error is repetition. He tries again differently, with a different angle, a softer delivery, a better setting. He does not recognize that the winning move does not exist because the game is structured to extract disclosure and penalize it. He keeps feeding the slot machine because the marquee says jackpot, the logo's correction. The correction begins with definition. Vulnerability means exposing the wound. If the listener cannot honor the wound, she has not requested vulnerability, she has requested a performance. The man must distinguish between a woman who wants to know him and a woman who wants to feel knowing him. The first will hold his honesty as a trust. The second will hold it as leverage. The practical protocol is a vetting gate, not a confession booth. Before disclosing weight-bearing emotional content, test the frame with something small. Admit a minor frustration. Share a small fear. Watch what happens in the 72 hours that follow. Does she hold it gently? Does she use it later? Does her body language shift? Does she reference it in an argument? The micro-disclosure is the stress test. If the structure cracks at 5 pounds, do not load it with 50. The correction also requires refusing the platitude's moral pressure. "I want you to be vulnerable" is not a commandment. It is a request that must survive examination. A man may say, "I am willing to be honest with you. I need to know first. What does honest vulnerability look like to you? Can you give me an example of a time a man was vulnerable with you and you respected him more afterward?" If she cannot answer, or if every example is negative, the request has no foundation. Do not build on sand. The deeper correction is ontological. A man's strength is not the absence of wounds, it is the mastery of them. The stoic general who has lost battles and kept commanding is not less strong for having lost. The father who fears failure and goes to work anyway is not weak for fearing. Masculine vulnerability is not theatrical disclosure. It is the endurance of weight under uncertainty. the carrying of burden without requiring the world to applaud the carrying. Christ in Gethsemane did not ask the disciples to admire his fear. He asked them to watch and pray. The vulnerability was real. The frame was sacrifice, not performance. The man who understands this stops offering his wounds to audiences that have not earned them. He builds brotherhood where honesty is met with iron sharpening iron, not tone policing and attraction audits. He reserves his deepest disclosure for the woman who has demonstrated, under fire, that she can hold it without using it. He does not perform vulnerability for approval. He practices honesty under discipline. A woman who can receive a man's genuine fear and love him more, for it is rare and worth her weight in silver. A woman who demands vulnerability and flinches when she gets it is not ready for what she asked for. The man's job is not to hate her for the gap. His job is to see the gap clearly, refuse to fill it with his dignity, and find the people and practices that can hold his actual weight. The maxim is simple. Do not hand your sword to someone who has not demonstrated she knows which end to hold. Disclosure is not weakness. Indiscriminate disclosure is strength is honesty under the right conditions, to the right audience at the right time, for the right reason. Everything else is just feeding the machine. Field Manual Rule 1. The joke is a diagnostic tool, not a weapon. When you spot the double standard, she wants vulnerability but redefines it the moment it costs her something. Name it inside your own head and act accordingly. You do not need to announce the diagnosis. A doctor who reads the chart does not throw it at the patient. He adjusts treatment. The pattern tells you what kind of disclosure is safe with this person and what kind is not. That is intelligence, not bitterness. Rule 2. Always define the word before you obey it. Vulnerability, accountability, communication, respect. These are load-bearing words. When she deploys one, ask what it means in concrete, observable, symmetric terms. If the definition changes when it is applied to her, you have found the seam. Stay calm, you are not being difficult. You are doing what any competent builder does, checking whether the material can hold the weight before you build on it. A man who refuses to define terms will eventually find himself kneeling on a floor that was never there. Rule 3. Separate the pattern from the person. The joke works because it captures a real, observable, repeated dynamic. But a woman is not a pattern. She is a person who may be caught in one. The distinction matters. A man who treats every woman as a standing contradiction has stopped thinking and started projecting. A man who pretends the pattern does not exist has also stopped thinking. The disciplined position is, you see the architecture clearly. You judge the individual justly, and you refuse to let either blindness or caricature do your work for you. Rule 4. Your calm is your credential. When the double standard surfaces, her move will be tone escalation. Yours is composure. You do not win by winning the argument. You win by remaining the man whose axis does not tilt when the weather shifts. A woman who is testing whether your frame can survive her storm is not your enemy. She is a force of nature looking for a wall that holds. Be the wall. Walls do not lecture the wind. Rule 5. Do not give authentic disclosure to someone who treats it as ammunition. This is not cynicism. This is stewardship. Your fears, wounds, doubts, and failures are not public property. They are treasure. A woman who has demonstrated through repeated pattern, not a single misstep, that she will use your openness as leverage, contempt fuel, or a reshuffled shit test, has told you everything you need to know about her capacity to hold what you carry. Give what fits the container. Do not pour wine into a sieve and then blame the sieve. Rule 6. Bitterness is when the pattern becomes an excuse for your own failure to act. Spotting the double standard is step 1. Steps 2 through 10 are lift, earn, pray, build, read, lead, father, forge brotherhoods, and leave more order behind than you found. A man who never moves past the diagnosis is a man who has found a sophisticated way to sit down. The pattern exists. So does your mission. The first does not cancel the second. It makes the second more urgent. Rule 7. Keep your humor surgical, not sadistic. The best joke is the one that reveals the truth so cleanly that even the person it describes has to laugh. The worst joke is the one that wounds to soothe your own ego. You know the difference by the aftertaste. If the joke leaves you lighter, sharper, more clear-eyed, and more compassionate, it served its purpose. If it leaves you tighter, darker, and more convinced that half the human race is your enemy, you have stopped telling jokes and started writing warrants. Put the pen down. Go train. Come back when the iron has burned the self-pity out. Quick decode. Double standard. A standard is real only if it binds both sides. Takeaway. Ask whether the rule would still apply if roles were reversed. Solipsistic evidence. A feeling may be meaningful without being evidential. Takeaway. Respect emotion without letting it replace proof. Subjective truth. Shared reality begins with common terms. Takeaway. Return to definitions before debating accusations. Inferior logos. A and not a cannot both be demanded under the same rule. Takeaway. Slow down and test the claim against non-contradiction. Tone tribunal. Delivery and truth are separate questions. Takeaway. Lower heat while keeping the proposition intact. A joke reveals what idealistic language conceals. When a woman demands vulnerability but punishes the specific vulnerability that threatens attraction, the contradiction becomes visible only when itemized. The receipt offends because it shows the double standard in plain figures. I have spent this book doing what every father should do at the dinner table and every man should do in his own soul, refusing to let words become weather. The modern world runs on unstated premises, on euphemisms that rename vice as care and coercion as compassion. Each joke, each syllogism, each etymology has been a tool for forcing those premises into the light where they must answer for themselves. The household test is the final court. Does the doctrine survive winter? Does it feed children? Does it honor a father's work? Does it produce courage, fertility, peace, competence? If not, it is theater in moral vocabulary, and a man who cannot say so plainly has already surrendered his household to fog. I am not asking you to be cruel. I am asking you to be clear. Clarity is the first mercy. A man who names reality accurately is not attacking anyone. He is refusing to let his children inherit a language designed to make them helpless. The joke is just grammar with teeth. The syllogism is just a father's question refusing to be deflected. The boundary is just a wall that keeps the order inside safe from the chaos outside. Rebuild your room, train your body, guard your speech. Keep your oath. Love your woman without worshipping her moods. Raise your children toward adulthood, not toward therapy. Find brothers who correct you and whom you can correct. Do the next true thing, then the next. Civilization returns first as habit, then as household, then as inheritance. A joke is a moral X-ray. It reveals where language is hiding from truth. Sponsored book. Prayer and Power. Rebuilding Masculine Leadership in a Feminized World. Buy on Amazon or Google or Spotify Men. This book is not for everyone. If you're content with the way things are, if you're comfortable letting others dictate the terms of your life, if you've accepted the lie that masculinity is toxic and that men should apologize for existing, then stop reading now. Put this book down, go binge Netflix, scroll social media, or do whatever else makes you feel safe in your mediocrity. But if you're tired of feeling powerless, if you're sick of being told to shrink yourself to fit into a world that no longer values strength, discipline, or leadership, then keep reading. This book is for you. I didn't write this book because I had all the answers. I wrote it because I've lived the questions. I've felt the frustration of being told to man up, while simultaneously being shamed for being a man. I've watched as the roles that once gave men purpose, provider, protector, leader, were dismantled and replaced with confusion and chaos. I've seen how modern feminism, under the guise of equality, has eroded the foundations of family, faith, and freedom. And I've experienced firsthand the emptiness of a life lived without spiritual grounding or a clear sense of direction. But I've also discovered something powerful. Prayer is not a sign of weakness. It's not a passive act of surrender. It's a tool, a masculine tool for transformation. When used with intent, prayer can align you with divine will, sharpen your focus, and give you the strength to reclaim your role as a leader. This book is a guide to doing just that. It's a roadmap for rebuilding your masculine identity, not through anger or resentment, but through discipline, purpose, and spiritual growth. This book is for men who are ready to take responsibility for their lives. It's for men who are tired of being told they're the problem and are ready to become the solution. It's for men who want to lead their families, communities, and themselves with clarity and conviction. If that's you, then what you'll find here are practical steps grounded in biblical wisdom and spiritual truth to help you do just that. But let me be clear, this is not a book for the faint of heart. It's not a self-help manual filled with empty platitudes or feel-good affirmations. It's a call to action. It's a challenge to rise above the noise of a culture that wants you weak and dependent, and to embrace the strength and responsibility that come with being a man. If you're ready to stop being a victim and start being a leader, then this book is for you. If you're ready to reclaim your power, your purpose, and your place in the world, then let's get to work. The journey won't be easy, but it will be worth it, and it starts here. Buy on Amazon or Google or Spotify. Prayer and Power: Rebuilding Masculine Leadership in a Feminized World, written by Conrad Riker. Buy now, links in description.